Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at my stream set from this past weekend's Vancouver Regional Championships where I managed to finish top 16. However, we're going to take specific looks at round 7 here, give you guys kind of a match analysis and my thoughts as the matchup was playing out. And this is my first time going back and watching this match. There was a ways I could have done this where, I could have watched the match back, kind of scripted out the ideal play of every turn, but I didn't really want that to be the case. I feel like there's a lot of value in just me watching this back for the first time, speaking my thoughts, kind of going back and forth, different options that I could have gone for. I feel like that adds a little bit more value to the video. So I have purposely not gone back and watched this. Hopefully you guys enjoy that type of analysis instead of just like the well-scripted, this was ideal, this was ideal, this was ideal. I figured my thought process may relate a little bit better than to something like that. That's enough rambling for me though. Let's take a quick look at the teams. Starting up, we have my team, obviously with the Kyogre Roaring Moon as the majority of that core, with just a bunch of support and that Scarf Urge, of course. Not really a new team. If you guys are interested, I did do a team report on my top 16 run with the full EVs and everything, so I'll leave that at the end of the video and down below if you guys do want to check that out. But overall, just a pretty standard Kyogre team as to what's been known in the meta right now. Moving on, we have Brandon's team, which is a lot more out there, so to speak, for lack of a better term right now. And of course, we have that Lunala. Lunala actually did end up winning the tournament, so Brandon was clearly on to something. But this is actually my second Lunala in a row, which at the time, I had no clue Lunala was going to win the tournament. I'm like, why are there so many Lunalas here? Like, what's going on? I must have missed the memo. But anyways, really cool team here from Brandon. Lunala, Indeedee, that side spam core that did end up winning the regional, along with Torkoal, Ogerpon, Wellspring Mask, Urshifu, and Ursaluna. Now, my big concern with this matchup here is actually the Ogerpon Water and the Scarf Dark Urshifu. Those are the two big keys that I'm really trying to get around here. The Ursaluna, yes, can be a little scary. However, I'm trying to cycle Incineroar and Rillaboom in this matchup regardless. So I feel okay cycling around at Ursaluna. The Torkoal changing my weather, I don't care. I'm probably setting up Calm Minds more often than not anyways. It's a little scary if I tear grass, but generally speaking, I'm in an okay spot right now. We're going to jump right into the match here, and they're going to go off with that Lunala Indeedee lead into my Roaring Moon Kyogre. And Kyogre Roaring Moon to me just felt safe. There was a lot of pieces that were kind of fluent on their end, like they could lead the Water Pond. In that case, I still have Roaring Moon to pressure that. If they lead the Scarf Urge, I have Roaring Moon for Tailwind modes there. And the best part about this is that the Trick Room mode gives me a Calm Mind on Kyogre and a knockoff into either of these pieces that I so choose. I figured I'd try to force to follow me by knocking off the Lunala, which just felt safe. And I also didn't want to send a Origin Pulse knockoff because I didn't want to give them 4 turns of Trick Room. So I figured the Calm Mind was safe. I know this knockoff is never going to one-shot this Indeedee. So as long as if they do just go for the follow me, and I'm going for my Calm Mind here, I'm not giving them that free switch in next turn to something like that Ursaluna, to something like that Torkoal, where they can start stacking up damage. We do see, as I figured, the knockoff not going to kill the Indeedee. I do get chipped by the Rocky Helmet, which is a little bit annoying, but getting rid of that Rocky Helmet's always good. And we do see the Lunala actually faster than my Kyogre, which, as you see in the little corner there, I am just writing down. I'm trying to figure out why it's faster than my Kyogre on what I thought was a pretty normal-ish Trick Room looking team. I figured they'd have a little bit less speed than my Kyogre, but surprising nonetheless. Thankfully, it was just a Meteor Beam into the Roaring Moon, and that is the bond they're going to try and target down. I'm aware of that. I'm cool with that. And at this point, there's no Wide Guard on this Lunala. Let's just start sending Origin Pulse. And I do want to really save Roaring Moon. I know that Water Ogerpon is in the back. I need to make sure I have answers to it later on. I cannot risk losing this Roaring Moon. I got to get it off the field. And honestly, just bringing in like a Rillaboom or an Incin here, both super safe options for me here. Because they're not threatened, right? Incin especially. I mean, it's Expanding Force, Ghost Move, and the Meteor Beam, which you need the Power Herb to charge. So Incin super safe switching on my end. And with the Calm Mind up on my Kyogre, I am really not all that concerned about what this Lunala is going to do or the damage output-wise that's coming out. Brandon very smartly deciding to keep that Indeedee around 4 later, win the terrain war because he knows I've got Rillaboom in the back, right? There's no secret there, right? It's like, oh, I haven't necessarily revealed it, but there's no secret there. They do go for the Terra Grass onto the Lunala here immediately as they switch in their Ogerpon Water. Just a Moongeist Beam, and honestly, this did way more than I expected to my Incineroar. Like, I know I'm not like the most specially bulky Incineroar, but I still expected that to do a little bit more than not. But Origin Pulse here, gonna obviously do nothing into the Ogerpon. It's still at full health, so I don't necessarily care that I'm giving it a boost. And here I'm actually gonna pause because I can do a lot of things here. I can say I'm concerned about Ogerpon. Let me make sure this Ogerpon is gone. This thing's gotta go. But the fact of the matter is I'm really not concerned about the Ogerpon. I'm just going to go Terra Grass and cycle my Rillaboom in. And I really just wanted to point out that I don't care that Ogerpon's here. Yes, Ogerpon does a very, very good job of pressuring a lot of my team. But at the exact same time, my Kyogre going Terra Grass here means it can't really hit it super effectively. I'm getting Rillaboom back in. And it's just going to give me all my health back. Most likely all of my health are close to it at the end of the turn if they do hit hard into my Kyogre. So, you know, Rillaboom just making its way onto the field right now as I match the Terra Grass because, you know, why not have 4 grass types on the field, am I right? Anyway, so as this animation goes, what you're going to see here is that I am just going to start pressuring down this Lunala now. I think I went Ice Beam and I think I left it on like 2 or 3 HP. I don't care about the Ogerpon. It does a very good job of like not getting hit by Origin Pulse. But as the game develops, I'm not as concerned about it because they really don't pressure me back all that much. Although Ivy Cudgel Rain, Moongeist Beam at +1. Rillaboom does unfortunately go down. I was actually kind of surprised by that one. I was expecting to live. I figured double up was happening, but I was also expecting to live on like 2 or 3. I didn't think I was going to go straight down. And then unfortunately their Lunala manages to live as well. So don't love the position that I'm in, but at the same time, I'm able to just cycle in exactly what I want to at this point. And it's going to be the Roaring Moon. I know pretty much now that because they know their Lunala is faster than my Kyogre, there's probably no Trick Room mode or no intent to try to set Trick Room from Brandon's end. And at this point, it's kind of playing that game. I think I actually end up clicking Origin Pulse here, which I do think is correct because if the Ogerpon tries to reposition at any point, Origin Pulse is solid, and I can't afford to protect the Roaring Moon, which is what I'm trying to do, because I want Urshifu on the field, and I need to keep Roaring Moon alive. So I end up going O-Pulse Protect, and the concept there is, like I said, they're probably going to either save Lunala or try to maybe get a Trick Room up with like a Follow Me. So I go O-Pulse, and I just basically say I have to hit this move. Ice Beam is a little risky. I could have gone for it. It would have ended up working out just fine, actually, but Origin Pulse thankfully does manage to connect. They do correctly call the Protect on Roaring Moon. I guess Ivy Cudgel's killing my Moon anyway, so there's no reason to not to send free damage out this way into my Kyogre. And Origin Pulse, once again, I don't care that I'm hitting the Water Absorb. It's not like I'm boosting it anyway. It's already still at full health. And thankfully I do connect on the piece that I needed, and Lunala is going to go down. Like I said before, at this point, I'm pretty confident it is that Urshifu in the back, and that's why I really wanted to keep Roaring Moon alive there. I could not risk having that piece go down because because of the fact it's scarfed. It is scarfed Dark Urshifu. I need to make sure that I have pressure here with a potential Tailwind from my Roaring Moon. I also need to keep Roaring Moon alive because I want to force the pin, right? So my big thing here is that they now need to pick. They either don't give me Tailwind and kill my Roaring Moon, and then in which case Kyogre goes crazy and wins this endgame. Or they try to pressure down Kyogre and give me Tailwind, in which case I think Roaring Moon wins this endgame. So the concept here is I just once again have to click Origin Pulse. They don't have a switch into it on the Urshifu end, and I'm going to click Tailwind, and I'm just going to send those moves here. Once again, ignoring the Ogerpon, I feel very safe in doing so. There is the Wicked Blow. Kyogre built to be super bulky on my end. I felt very comfortable living that, especially since they had burned their terrestrialization already. And we just get a nice little Origin Pulse up here. That at +1 in the rain is always going to be killing that Urshifu. And now the question is, where did they decide to go with the Ogerpon? If they go into Roaring Moon, it's a little unfortunate. But they do go into the Kyogre, which I figured they would, because if they get the kill with the Wicked Blow, Ivy Cudgel finishes off the Roaring Moon anyways. If they don't get the kill with the Wicked Blow, at that point it's doubling up and killing the Kyogre, and to get rid of the big threat. Now I have Roaring Moon here at pretty low, and an instant also just over half. So I don't love the position, and there's a few things that could happen here. They could easily go for the Helping Hand if they think my Roaring Moon is gonna kill Ogerpon. They can go Helping Hand and kill my instant. I can go Knock Off into the Indeedee if they think I'm gonna kill it first, or if I think they're just gonna follow me, because the Indeedee can't protect, and in my opinion, that's my important spot, is that Indeedee can't protect. So I figured, just in case this Ogerpon protects, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go Will-O-Wisp into the Ogerpon, because they're at -1. There's no rain. Instant has a chance of surviving it. They do correctly go for the Helping Hand, as now Knockoff connects into Indeedee. The big issue with this turn is I have to figure out where they're going. I think there's a world in which they go Helping Hand, Ivy Cudgel into my Roaring Moon here, and that makes this endgame super, super spooky. However, if they do that, as long as Roaring Moon survives, I covered my option there with the Will-O-Wisp. That crit did not matter. We'll see in game 2 how much I take from Ivy Cudgel later on, but that crit does not matter at that point. The Helping Hand is effectively like putting me in rain. I know they're -1, but I should still be dying at that spot. And this is my interesting spot, right? I have to play around Spiky Shield damage because I know it's going to be an endgame. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically going to try and condition Brandon to think I'm going to play this endgame the same way consistently. So I'm going to protect Roaring Moon first. They're going to go Spiky Shield. And it seems kind of useless because they're just able to Spiky Shield again the next turn. But I'm going to go ahead and just send the Acrobatics here. And what I'm trying to put into their head is the fact that I'm going to go protect, Acrobatics, and then you're going to see next turn, I'm also going to go protect, and I want them to think that I'm going to Acrobatics again. I want to kind of create that pattern that, obviously, guys, it's just a read. It's a read-based endgame here. You've got to try to win the endgame. I am trying to just get in their head a little bit more to make them think I'm playing it one way. Obviously, that Acrobatics went into the Spiky, so now I send this Acrobatics, because as long as they don't get any sort of crazy double Spiky Shield, I'm in a pretty good spot. Acrobatics does come out, does well more than what I wanted to see, which is very good. All I needed was 50% there, so taking 75 is great. Roaring Moon down to 12, and like I said, this was the end game I was ready for. I was expecting to get to a spot where I would have to call a Spiky Shield, and if I call it wrong, I'm dying. So now I'm going to play that exact same game. I'm going to go ahead and click Protect. They're going to go ahead and click either Ivy Cudgel or Spiky Shield, but I don't effectively do anything because if they did Spiky Shield there, they just get to do it again. And by going for Protect first here instead of Tailwind, it covers the if they just send the Ivy Cudgel. And now I have to make the call. This is where the call happens. This is where the call has to be made. As you can see, I'm hovering Tailwind, Acrobatics. I'm trying to make the call. And the concept here, guys, is once again, because I went Protect into the attack last time, I think that I have a more likely scenario of him clicking Spiky Shield here because I went Protect into something this time, right? Last time it was Acrobatics. Yes, there's no way to guarantee that that's what he's thinking. But in my mind, I have to take that line to the spot where it's like, I'm going to try and just read that, right? I set up that. I want him to think that I'm going Acrobatics. And I do manage to get that call right as I do click Tailwind here and get around that Spiky Shield. And at this point, it's don't let him get a... If the game gives him a double Spiky Shield, the game gives him a double Spiky Shield. Not much I can really do there. They thankfully do not get it. And Roaring Moon going to survive on 12 HP to seal up game number 1. And we're jumping into game 2. And my concept here, guys, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to go Roaring Moon. I'm going to go Kyogre. Same thing I did last time. Brandon on their end is going to mix it up. We do see Ogerpon and Lunala. And this is one of those leads that I really have the opportunity to kill whichever piece I want. But I actually end up deciding to play it safe, right? Because I can go Terra Grass, not really care about the fact that I'm losing pieces here and maybe send like Acrobatics, Ice Beam into something. And if I catch the Terra, I'm in a very good spot. But what I wanted to do here, I end up going for the double protect. It's a little bit of a coward's play, but I really just wanted to see how Brandon was going to approach this turn, see what was going on, and if they did launch the Meteor Beam. Again, I've also burned that damage, meaning they have a lot less damage into my Roaring Moon and they don't kill it down nearly as quickly. So we're just going to go Protect from the Roaring Moon. Once again, could have doubled that Lunala like I had thought about, but I don't think it gets the kill regardless. Could have also technically doubled the Ogerpon, but the same concept applies where I don't want to give them Trick Room, right? I don't want Trick Room on the board and giving them multiple turns of Ursaluna. The fast mode didn't work for them last time, right? So I don't want them to have 4 turns with their big threats on the field. Ogerpon, yes, can be a threat, but it's not as scary as something like that Ursaluna hitting the board and putting Calm Mind on the field. So now I'm just going to say, I'm going to force you to double something, right? If I go Calm Mind on Kyogre, we've seen that I'm slower than their Lunala, so them getting Trick Room up just means I get a Calm Mind up first. Seems very, very safe here. I'm not really a threat of dying, even if they do take big chunks of damage onto Kyogre. With Instant and Rillaboom in the back for myself, this feels pretty solid. And now it's just a question of where do they go. They could split their damage. They kind of have to double up if they ever want to kill anything. A double up's not going to kill Kyogre, and they do decide to drop the Meteor Beam here into, I believe it was my Roaring Moon, followed up by an Ivy Cudgel into my Roaring Moon, which I figured there was a chance I might live, but I also figured it was pretty likely that I was going to die, right? We saw the -1 Ivy Cudgel last time. Let me get the bar off. There we go. We saw the -1 Ivy Cudgel last time do about, I believe it was like 30 something. So now it was not -1 and it was still in rain. I figured it was picking up that knockout there after the Meteor Beam did that much. And now we get Rillaboom in. And I strongly regret the way I played these next few turns. I think these next few turns are very questionable from my end. What I want to do is I want to go U-turn Ice Beam, kill the Ogerpon. I really just want this Ogerpon off the board, but for whatever reason I decided to change my mind, and I believe I went U-turn Ice Beam into the Lunala. I don't know if that was because I was calling a spiky shield here, but at this point Ogerpon actually is the threat, because if I'm U-turning out, it's a call that's very easy for them to make, right? At this point I also don't know if Ogerpon is faster or slower than my Rillaboom, which is definitely something that I do want to see, so I was never going to Grassy Glide or Fake Out in this position. There could still be an Indeedee. U-turn was always my play, but I really just should have sent it into the Ogerpon, I think, because getting rid of that Ogerpon would have been a whole lot better for me moving forward in this game. As we do see the Moongeist Beam come on out right now. This is going into Kyogre. But like I said, I got my Calm Mind up, so I'm really not too concerned. And as long as I have Grass, I take that back. Obviously, Lunala going to be able to survive the turn there, which I should have known, and I did know, but for whatever reason, I decided not to kill the Ogerpon, and now Incineroar has to hit the board here, and unfortunately, it has to hit the board here. And like I said, remember a couple seconds ago, I said that the U-turn was very easy to call out. Well, here's the Ivy Cudgel into my Incineroar. Thankfully, though, like I said, I do live. I would have lived without rain. I lived the Ivy Cudgel outside of rain at neutral, or I live in rain if they're at -1. But basically, I still get to switch in Incineroar here. Unfortunately, I just take a lot more than I would have liked. And now the question is, I have to figure this out. There's no Protect on Lunala. I always try to Ice Beam that slot. And unfortunately, I parting shotted the Ogerpon here, and Brandon makes a very good play. But I think I'm supposed to parting shot the Lunala. Like I said, there's no Protect. It just guarantees that my Instant gets to cycle. Although I really also wanted Ogerpon down to -1. So it's kind of a call I had to make there. I do end up parting shotting into the Spiky Shield. But more importantly right now, this Ice Beam comes on out for absolutely massive amounts of damage into this Ursaluna. And now, at this point, it's cool. It's a +1 Ice Beam. I get the freeze. This freeze is obviously massive. However, I think with only 2 turns left of Trick Room, I think there is a world where I can cycle this endgame regardless. Obviously, they don't get the burn right here, and that is absolutely massive, right? I'm not denying that. I have no intentions of saying, well, he's not... I'm winning now, right? But technically what I could have been able to do there is I could have protect Kyogre, hard cycled Instant out into Rilla, then hard cycled Rilla back out, had Kyogre to get damage off, right? There was still a way for me to win the game, but it most certainly was in Brandon's favor. But now with that freeze, all I need to do now is I could try to make the safe play still, just in case they defrost. But there's really no reason for that. I've been gifted the freeze. I'm going to just send my damage here and hope that they stay frozen. I'm up a game. I'm not going to try and stall out this end game, and then all of a sudden give them a chance to defrost more, right? So we're going to get that Ursaluna being frozen solid, as we do get a parting shot now, bringing this Ogerpon down to -1. And I'm going to try, I believe I hit the Ogerpon immediately, with another Ice Beam. I figured I'd just leave it. I'm going to say, you know what, it's going to be frozen. With only a couple turns left to Trick Room, if they do defrost, I can just protect to stall it out the following turn. So I am going to go ahead, get this big old Ice Beam into this Ogre Pond right here. Does do less than half despite being at -1. But yeah, I was this game, guys. I was the game heard across nations. I was the whatever you want to call it, but the double Ice Beam freeze. Yeah, there was a bunch of posts about this. You know, like I think Chuppa had one about like shaking my head when I something about shaking my head when I double freeze my opponent or something like that. There's a couple of good ones. If I find them, maybe I'll post the screenshots or something. But regardless, at this point, guys, as long as I am not dumb, I should be sealing this. I do realize that their Ogre Pond is faster than my Rillaboom. We saw that earlier. So basically, on the last turn of Trick Room here, I'm gonna go for the drum beating if I'm allowed to get it off. And basically, Brandon unfortunately just never moves again here. He was playing game 2 so well too. Like he was cooking me game 2. Like I said, I still think I have a chance without the freeze because it's going to be revealed that he also didn't bring the Urshifu, and it's once again the Indeedee. And I think with the pieces that I still have or had at the time, I think there was still a chance without the freeze. Like I said, I don't think it was like, I'm not in like the best of positions, but I do think there was like a still viable lines for me to win that without the freezes. However, I do think Brandon had the upper hand. Fortunately for me though, I do get the double freeze. And at this point, guys, it's just, I just start doing damage. I go U-turn because it will kill the Ogre Pond if they defrost. If they don't defrost and they try to switch out, I keep my positioning. I reset fake out. Basically, I'm bringing instant in. It does happen to be the Indeedee, which is just a very strong option for me moving forward right now. And long story short, the U-turn basically goes, if I U-turn and I bring in instant and that's something like the Urshifu, I need to make sure I have fake out pressure, right? So if they go into Urshifu there and I bring in instant, and they go kill the instant, well then that's fine because Rillaboom comes back in, I just get fake out and I'm still set, right? Obviously it was the Indeedee in this point and I didn't know that at the time, but sending that still checks out. And at this point, guys, there's not much else to say. We're in a pretty solid spot overall. They go Expanding Force. Kyogre going to take it pretty well. Since they switched out their +1 special attack, Kyogre just simply does not care. We're going to get the Ice Beam out. Lunala is going to go down. And at this point, guys, they have to try and defrost with their Ogre Pond. But frankly, even if they do, they don't get a kill onto either of us. Right? They can go ahead and try to defrost. If they defrost, they kill one. The other one just kills the Ogre Pond. Hornleech doesn't pick up enough health recovery. They could try to just follow me, Ivy Cudgel. But at that point, I'm bringing Indeedee down to super low. I still have the Rillaboom in the back. Long story short, I don't think I needed the freezes, but the first one was definitely one of the major reasons I ended up winning that set. With that, guys, it is going to conclude our match analysis video. Let me know what you all think about the kind of the free-flowing thoughts of a match analysis as opposed to like the hard, rigid, like should have done this, this, and this. I feel like there's value to be had. Like I said at the beginning of the video, with this is basically what my brain is thinking in this scenario, kind of showcasing a lot more options than what was really just like the correct play constantly, because I feel like that's a little bit more relatable, because in the moment you don't know the correct play immediately, right? You're making turns based on what you see in front of you. So I was trying to kind of do it that way this time. If that's something you guys like, let me know. If it's something you dislike, let me know. I plan on doing more of these moving forward. Of course, that does rely on me making it back onto stream, but hopefully I'll be able to do that at a future tournament. But let me know what you guys think. Also, if you guys do enjoy this type of content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help with the channel, and of course, I really do appreciate it. But with that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all in a future video.